What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 25 of HorrorCorridor. We are here with motherfucking Lyssa Cer.
Hello.
What's up, man?
Just chilling, stoned, as usual. That tends to be my state of mind.
Oh yeah, it's a good way to be. I swear, it lends itself to this genre in a way.
And it's nice to be in a legal state. So.
Oh yeah.
I'm in a Michigan state of mind.
I want to talk to you. We're gonna go to the very beginning. I want to see what got you into music before the horrorcore.
Okay, so my music love actually comes from both my parents are like super into music. They're not they never like pursued it like I do, but both are like they would always sing in the car, and there was always music in the house. And my first like music memory or band memory is my dad taking me to A to Z Comics in Garden City, and he would buy comics and he would buy me Monkees records. They had like vinyls and stuff.
Hey with the Monkees.
So, yeah, so like exactly, people say we monkey around. So I had like this stack of Monkees records and this yellow Big Bird record player.
That's dope. And
I was born in Detroit, so I would just go to the shop with my dad and listen to my records and just kind of dance around. And then my mom like introduced me to the show, and like I've loved music ever since. Like that's my first, like I was like 3 years old at that time. So like, that's like my first sense memory is like music and loving music. And
so were you Monkees over Beatles all day?
Yes. Still am. Like I love the Beatles. They've got great stuff, but I actually am on a Monkees kick right now. Like I will put the playlist on and listen to everything and know all the words.
I respect that.
The Monkees.
So from there on, when did you get more into alternative style music?
When I was in high school, like I was one of those, I dealt with like depression and shit in high school. So I, like a lot of us in horrorcore did, started, I happened to get into the clowns when I was, like in middle school and shit, and saw, Slipknot in a circus magazine wearing the clown mask. And I was like, who are these posers? Like, hardcore juggalette, like already like rarely out the womb. And I'm already like, family. But so like I see this Slipknot with these masks and like all these motherfuckers. And I went and bought the CD. And from there, like, it was a way to funnel kind of all that shit I dealt with as a young person and give it kind of like an emotion, a language to be able to express, kind of the shit I didn't have the emotional intelligence to kind of work through myself yet.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot there to chew on, and especially if you're a younger kid, it's like almost seems like a whole universe. And I'm surprised that the younger generation today doesn't get into it a little bit more, but I guess, I don't know.
I mean, I think that their form of hardcore music is just different to us. Like I've got a 21-year-old stepson, and he was showing me some music recently, and he's like, it's so hard. And I'm like, this sucks. And I was like, oh my God, I'm middle-aged and my kid's music sucks. Like, I don't get it. Yeah. But like, I just think it's, expressing a different kind of collective trauma of a young person.
So how long was it before you, so from then on, when you found the clowns and shit, that was middle school, went on to high school, how long till you started like getting into the more fringe stuff, the BEDLAM, the whatever else was going on in Detroit at the time, or Michigan at the time?
I didn't get into that until I met like Demonic and Troubled Mindz and all of them in 2003.
Well, so the record label and stuff would have came before you got into like more of the wicked shit and stuff.
No, I was around behind the scenes before I signed with KYP. So I signed with KYP like 2005, 2006 was when it was official. But I had actually been around since like October 2003. So from October until 2005, I was the person that maybe you'd see at the door taking ticket money, mm-hmm. or like setting up the show or tearing down afterwards, picking up the sound equipment, like.
Oh yeah. Security, stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. So, I kind of ran the I paid dues. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I enjoyed it. Like, I was happy to help the cause. And like,
How long
you
was
know,
it till
so,
they discovered your voice and were like, get on a track?
um, I mean, to put it frankly, like Demonic heard me singing in in the shower one day. I was singing a non-point song, and he's like, "Wow, you have a really great voice." And prior to that, like the people that I had spent my time with had kind of discouraged that. Were kind of dicks about it. So I ended up getting on Tasty Treats. Was the first thing I ever recorded on. I sang on the chorus, and but it was a very delicate thing getting one of the, a girlfriend of a rapper into the music. Like, it's a very delicate subject, and like you have to go about it the right way, right? And like that would create complex politics with like that, with Murder House and shit. So, I got on some tracks just kind of doing my own thing. Like, had the expectation was you're going to write some tracks and you're going to prove that you're not there was a certain stereotype at that time about women, right?
Yeah, I know you got some songs about it.
I mean, I'm not gonna.
But I get it. I get it because like the hardcore and punk scene had the same type, and like without trying to sound sexist, like some people really had to be careful, like what age groups they were hanging out with, because you're getting, especially when you're having all ages shows in your scene, it gets pretty. It can get like you got to know how old people are.
Correct. That, and then that's a whole different topic. Like it's age and consent, all those things. But like just being we need to. I mean, there's a reality to being like a female in a male-dominated industry. Like, you have to conduct yourself a certain way. And prior to like myself, Razakel, Smallz coming onto the scene, Miss Kisa, Ruby, even Tally Demon. And
oh yeah, there were a lot, especially on you guys did the Murderers Row song on the Manson Theory track, kind of like showcased a lot of the names you just mentioned.
Yeah, and there were at the time I came on the scene, there were a lot of women coming on the scene that kind of set a standard that hadn't previously been set. Prior to a lot of our kind of styles, it had been a lot about I'm going to be a sexy doll and I'm going to talk about sucking your dick in a kind of clowny kind of way. And it didn't, it made it so that it was very hard to come into this genre as a female. And I'm not like bitching about it. It's just the reality of the history.
Yeah, I can kind of remember music like that on artists, but I can't put a face and a name to it. But I do remember some of those, like, and it was kind of goes the same with men too. It's just like when there's no budget and nobody giving you guidance and stuff, it just kind of comes off as cheesy and crappy,
Right. And I mean, like, prior to that, there was a view of what a woman would need to do to make it in this industry. And to do that, originally, that was to be a sex symbol, and people like myself, Raz, the women I mentioned, we didn't want that.
You tore it apart.
Like, I mean, that was the intention. Like the intention, not to sound like a feminazi or whatever, but like, at least speaking for myself, like, and I'm sure I could probably speak for them on this. Like, we came into it wanting to show that women could do it just as powerfully and authentically as men could, without having to talk about sucking dick and not having to suck dick to get there.
Yeah, I would say like between like Dead Girlz and all the stuff on the Bitch Chronicles and stuff, it's like the opposite of horny music pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it was something that I think all of us were, in our physical appearance, we don't hypersexualize. And
you guys were wearing like ties and like suit jackets and have masks and stuff. Yeah,
Dickie work shirts and Dickie shorts, sneakers. You don't see, and it look like, let me say this, it's cool to do that. Like, it, you know what I'm saying? Like, there are women in horrorcore who are hypersexualized, who do pursue that in their music, and that's fucking cool.
Yeah, like, some people pull it off. It's really just kind of comes down to how they brand themselves and like how seriously they take it. Yeah,
you just, as long as you're owning it and you're not doing it because that's the only person they'll let you be. And it's not like that anymore. They can, we can choose to be, we can choose to be sexualized, we can choose to not sexualize. Like, we have those choices now, and that's what matters, I think.
For sure.
So I'm not trying to like hate on anybody's fucking, if you're sexy, you're sexy, fucking show it off. Like, I like titties. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
As
long as you're owning it, do it up.
Hell yeah. So, like, on your journey to KYP, we'll go back just a little bit before that, because that's like the explosion, I would say, of your career. Like, that's the big bang there.
That's the start of the finish.
Were you into metal, grindcore, industrial, any of those kind of like more aggressive styles of music, hardcore?
I listened to a lot of new metal, like, Slipknot, Mudvayne, Nonpoint, Static X, Mushroom Head,
Nice.
like, Crackjaw, Edema, Stereo Mud. Like, I listened to a lot of that. I listened to a lot of hip hop. Like, I was always a Tupac fan as a kid. And I listened to a lot of like pop music too. So like, and a lot of horrorcore at that point. I mean, leading up to, KYP, I was listening to Bedlam and KGP, Rotten, Q Strange, like, even like Stitch Mouth was starting to come out at that time, and The Sinister, Defect. Like, I was a huge Defect fan.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Defect's awesome. Same with everyone else you mentioned. I actually just discovered Havoc Mutilation Revisited album today, which was KYP, one of KYP's first releases, 2007. Dude, that needs to get streamed. I'm gonna buy it off of long range distribution soon, but like, that needs to get like some ears on it. That's such a good album.
And that's a forgotten gem. I had even forgotten that KYP was put on that album. Like, it was because him and Stitchez
was on a couple tracks, I think.
Yeah, they had a super close relationship. Like, that's Havoc from Rotten. So like, Stitchez, and that's where I learned about Rotten, was from Stitchez.
Cool. So when did you meet Stitchez?
I met Stitchez in 2004 at the Gathering. This is the best story ever. So it was my college graduation present for my parents. They were like, here, we're gonna buy you Gathering tickets and pay for your hotel and shit. So like, me and Demonic had just gotten there, like literally just got out of the car, and we hear Troubled Mindz. Like, holy shit, he's famous. Like, and here bounds up Stitchez in, his little imp like energy. And over the course of that weekend, like, that kid had me at hello. Like,
hell yeah.
He had, like, I just talked about how I'm not like hypersexualized. It's the one time in my life that someone got me to show my bare breasts at a music event, and he could talk the panties off a nun. that kid, he is like, so yeah, I met him in 2004, and like, he was a kid and crazy, and yeah,
that's awesome. Did you ever see that movie he was in?
I
never got to. I never saw it or saw where it is.
I have access to it. I haven't been able to watch that, to be honest with you.
Too hard
like,
for you.
Yeah. I can tolerate a music video or like a concert clip, or even like every like 6 months I'll listen to Sick and Shameless or whatever. But yeah, I haven't mustered the gusto to have that cry fest yet. But I will say this: I know Joe Wakefield is talented as fuck, so I know that film is great. I have watched his other one though, about him, the Jays.
Oh, cool. I'll look into that one.
It's that one's. I think it's called Snipeless.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. I'll try to find the link for it and I'll give it to you.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, look up Spooky Joe. He's the shit.
Awesome. And for the listeners who aren't familiar, we're talking about Stitchez with the Z at the end, not the other Stitchez.
Not the fuck boy. We're talking about Stitchez of Mental Ward, the king of horrorcore.
I think most of our listeners know that by now.
They know. Yeah, if you know, you know.
Yeah. But if you're just dropping in,
Yeah, if you're brand new here, welcome. We love you, and go look up Stitchez.
yep, Sick and Shameless. It's a baller
Hmm.
album. Actually, Real Wicked. It's either Real Wicked or a Bloodshot song that comes on after every album because Spotify thinks that's what I want to listen to right away. So
You're
basically,
probably
Stitches
right.
Stitches is like always playing after whatever album I listen to. So
Yeah. I mean, what a legacy, man. What an impact, and what a bright burst of history he left behind, huh?
yeah, and I'm still like I feel like I'm still unlocking more Stitches and finding more stuff that he's been on. So it's cool. A lot of longevity
He,
there.
yeah, he was very prolific when he was with us, and he would jump on anything, and he reached out to so many people that like he looked up to, like you were talking about Havoc, and like he was our intro to Dirty Z from Hospital H, and
Oh yeah,
um,
yeah.
like
He was
a lot of
actually
people
on the Slaughter Camp mixtape. Like he joined the Slaughter Camp with Concrete. So it's like that
there.
is crazy because that's Northwest shit.
Stitches had so many irons in the fire that people never got to see. Like there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, a lot of movement and like changing of roles and stuff, and like changing of positions and placements where Stitches was about to do a lot of crazy shit that no one saw coming. And um, you know, obviously collectively that whole, losing him was a tragedy just in a lot of different ways, but the legacy he would have left behind would have been so varied and so eclectic and so history making.
Yeah.
So we didn't just lose like an icon or whatever, like a legend. We lost a lot of really good fucking music that could have been.
Yeah, I
Not
know.
to be all morose and shit, but like it's that's the way it is.
No, it's true. I mean it's happened. There's every once in a while there's that one artist that dies and then it's so sad, but then you also think about the potential there was when it comes to Kurt
Yeah,
Cobain or Geno Cult
horror
shit or
Horrorcore has had so many of those. Gino, Just 10, Enzian, TC. Like, there have been so many great horrorcore artists that could have been that were just bullshit. It's just bullshit.
yeah, for sure. So did you play guitar or any other instruments when you were
Yeah, let's
relating?
happier days. So, no, actually, and I'm ashamed to say that I actually do not play any musical instruments, but I just recently my husband just gave me a guitar as an anniversary present.
Cool.
So I'm actually like watching introductory videos on like Fender and like learning how to play from like the ground up so that I can like add that into my music and stuff. So I'm super excited.
Nice.
The guitar is really fucking cool. It's got like
Yeah.
just cats on it.
And like for our listeners, definitely you probably heard it in the intro down below with Troubled Minds. She's got quite the pipes on her. She can
Oh, thank you.
belt out that singing voice quite well and stay on note.
Oh,
So I think
bless
that would
you.
accompany very well with some guitar.
Thank you. That's the intention. And I have to say, Wicked K brings out the best in my voice. Like, he makes me want to belt it out. But I truly appreciate you saying that because
I want a horrorcore folk album with you too.
I mean, I'm down for that. Like, he knows that all he's got to do is say the word. The Trouble Minds just has to say, jump on this track, and I'm there.
Yeah, and like
Those honor.
Blood, Sweat, and Fears is my favorite album from them. You brightened that album up with the two tracks you were on, right?
Yeah, yeah. You that gives me great joy. Like
Yeah,
both of those tracks were yeah, those were big deals to me. Like it had been a long road to get there, and that was truly a career high for me. That's definitely in the top 5 moments is getting on those tracks.
it also gives me hope that like if they ever need like a female voice for their hook, that they're always going to reach out to you because like on the Murder Mob too, like you would do just some background stuff and it just sounded so natural, and I was like, who is this chick? Why didn't I know that Lyssa Cer could sing? Like, what the hell?
I mean, I busted out, but it's something that I had to grow into and like get comfortable with. Like I said, in my youth, like I had some people in my life who constantly like berated me for it.
Hmm.
And like, we, kind of just made fun of it. And we're like, just don't sing, shut the fuck up. So,
Yeah.
it kind of hid away for a while, but, over the years I've gotten more and more comfortable and confident with it. And,
I think
Like
the
I said,
reason I didn't know that you sang was because my introductory to you was Manson Theory in 2012, and you didn't do any singing on that one.
I any chorus that's on Dead Girlz, Manson Theory, if I'm on the song, I'm singing on the chorus. It's just blended into, it's blended into one
Oh,
harmonious
maybe.
sound.
Wow. Okay. Well, good. That's good to know, actually, because I just.
And some of them, if you re-listen, especially in the Dead Girlz, like if you listen hard, sometimes you can hear my voice come through. But
Oh no,
yeah,
Dead Girls. I assumed it was you for sure. It was Manson Theory that I was just wasn't. I didn't know that you sang because after hearing that album, maybe the singing parts I just didn't
we
apply
just
to
didn't do
you.
as much. I
Yeah,
don't think. I mean, it's been a while since I've listened to that album, but I just don't think we did as
it was
much.
more brutal hooks on that
Hmm.
one rather than
Yeah,
the melodic. I don't think there's a single
yeah.
melodic song on that album actually.
No, I was a little. I mean, it was meant to be, in the spirit of the Manson family and stuff. But you'll that gives me hope that you'll like, the stuff that I've got that I've been sitting on because a lot of it is like the hooks are it's singing like, and I'm moving more towards that. Like
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's like it goes so well with like horror music because it's like you need that juxtaposition of like beauty with horror sometimes
yeah,
rather
like
than just the horror.
yeah. I think of like Phantom of the Opera or like Hammer horror films or whatever. Like there needs to be that kind of cinematic operatic kind of
Or even like the French extreme films or new
yeah,
Ari Aster movies like Hereditary or something like
you
that.
know Italian giallo and
Yeah.
our Dario Argento comes to mind. Like,
Hmm.
that, like you said, that juxtaposition of beauty and decay is the way that I've always phrased it in my mind.
Yeah.
It's what makes horrorcore beautiful. It's why Detroit is so hot in horrorcore because like that's the tone of that city. It's a mix of like beauty and decay, and that's what makes Detroit Detroit. So
I know. That's why, like, I know The Crow, the movie, isn't like the best movie in the world, but like, I just love thinking about like Detroit as that. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, I mean it's
Gotham
definitely been
City, kind of.
yeah, I mean it's been gentrified to be sure, but it's still got that gritty edge to it. And like,
I think that's
I
how most of us still think of it. The people that don't live
yeah.
there.
And I mean I'm lucky enough to have grown up at the tail end of, everything started to change when we got when the Super Bowl happened there.
Mm.
That's when they like really started to clean it up and everyone started to come in and it was trendy. But like, in a couple years after that, I was like growing up in a 20 something and like hitting, City Club and, running the streets with the murder mob and stuff. And it was still grimy.
Hell yeah. So when did you start with KYP exactly? You said that was that 2004.
Well, I mean, I met Stitchez and then by proxy BK, Pop N TC.
Did you meet them all at the gathering that there,
No,
or did you meet them
nope,
before that?
nope. There are a lot of like cross ties in the murder mob. It's strange. BK went to high school with demonic, toxic, wicked K. But he was also in the group in mental ward with Stitchez. So he already knew everybody. So I met him like like different ways, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I met him not long after the gathering. And then I met Poppin and TC, I believe it was at a show in like late 2000. I think it was like December 2004.
Okay. So yeah, it was all around the same
Poppin
time.
was 15. My introduction to him was watching him crip walk across the stage while Mental Ward got ready to do their set. It was delicious.
That's hilarious.
And I've loved him ever since.
Yeah. Yeah, I seen so many pictures of you guys together when I was going through Facebook pictures to get the flyer together. I was like, man, that looked like a fun time. Like you guys, and you can just see the way you two look at each other. You can just tell you're best friends. It's cool.
Yeah, like Poppin, Poppin and TC both. Like I have a unique relationship with. They are like my fiercest protectors and my most loyal compatriots. Like that is my ride or die. Right there is Poppin.
So how much longer till you met Marshland Monster?
Oh my goodness. He was around the same age. He was 16. How old is he now?
I don't know.
He was my first hometown.
I think he's 30
like my
or something.
I think it's my third fan maybe. Like so it was very early on, like maybe 2006, 2006, like maybe even before I officially came out on KYP. Um, yeah, he has been around for a long time since he was a youngin going to, he and I are both from the same small town in Michigan. So when I met him, he was still, going to the local high school and, um, you know, yeah, good Lord. I caught him running across a freeway one time. I was driving to work. That was my real day every day. No, not Lyssa. I was just Amy driving to work. And I'm getting ready to get off the freeway exit. And this little motherfucker is hot. We caught him hitchhiking to shows. Like he used to wear little upside down crosses. Like he was so cool.
Oh man.
When he was a kid, he was the best. I loved him so much and I love him now.
He still is. Still is
now
the
he's
best.
Now he's a legend though. Like now I'm like in awe of his presence and I'm like, you're superior to me in all way, shape, and form, and I can't make fun of you anymore because you have come into your shit, sir. Like,
do you think you guys will have any full length projects or maybe just like singles coming out?
me and Skeeter?
Yeah.
Marshland Monster? Absolutely. Like, I mean, for people who don't know, Skeeter is largely responsible for the production and recording and mixing and mastering of Gorelore.
Mm-hmm.
So I would almost argue that he and I have already done a project together in that aspect. We've done tracks together too. But I mean, Skeeter just has to say the word and I'm down. And I have a track planned with him and A Game the Reptile for my upcoming album. So
cool.
There will be.
That sounds cool. Yeah, it's just I was kind of mentioning that because it was like Gorelore. It's been about 10 years now.
Yeah, 11. Yeah, we put it out in 2011, I believe 2012 maybe.
So I think two things that would be amazing for that anniversary would be a remaster. Like just have Skeeter go over it one last, or Marshland. I need to stop adopting your name for him.
I'm sorry. That's my name for him.
My name.
Marshland Monster. He needs to be respected as an artist. My bad. That is my bad.
Yeah. So it'd be great for him to do a remaster on Gorelore. Even though it sounds really good, it would just be cool to just get like a crispy new anniversary, but also just like new songs with you guys together, like in the fashion of Gorelore, would be fantastic.
I mean, that's absolutely doable. I mean, well, the Gorelore remaster thing, we can try. I'd have to. I don't know where the original files to that album. Skeeter might have, or Marshland Monster might have them. So
that's the version I have is the files that he gave me of it because I didn't.
Well, if it's already a thing, then okay. Yes, I'm down for that. I'm down to give whatever people want. Like, here's my dilemma. So here's my message to anyone who's like, why the fuck isn't this bitch putting out music? Because I moved back to my hometown in 2017. So I lived in Detroit for a period. I have since moved back to my hometown. I had the luxury of like having someone else record, mix, and master me. Like Toxic for those 5 years was my lifesaver when it comes to that. So I never learned how to use Pro Tools and all that fancy stuff. So I have the studio and now I'm trying to learn the equipment. So I'm kind of in a unique position as someone who's been in the game for a while. Like I'm kind of starting from newborn status.
But it'll probably pay off in the long run, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, it's going to be very nice to essentially I have complete control over my music for the first time ever. And I'm not saying that, Toxic or Marshland Monster, whoever didn't give me control of my music, but I know the intricacies. I know the inner workings.
Yeah. And you don't have to reach out to somebody for anything. It's all internalized. So that's cool.
Correct.
So are you going to be doing beats or are you just going to be recording your vocals and sending it out? Oh, okay.
My goal is to be able to do everything in-house. Like I'm actually looking in front of me. The studio is now set up in its final location and I have everything to make beats to, I've got my keyboard, I've got my machine, and my I got my good mic and Pro Tools. I've got it all. Fruity Loops, everything's here. I'm just trying to learn it, and I've had some like technical difficulties as far as like setup, and um I live in an old house. Like my house was built in 1937, and the electrical system is kind of
Oh yeah.
shifty. So my husband and someone we know had to actually do some things to the house, like electrically, in order to be able to hold the power with everything else we run in the house.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I fried one wall of my apartment once after a show, so I get it.
And and I said if I was going to buy studio equipment, I was going to do it once. So I put a lot of money into it. I don't want it to fry, and my daughter's in the house, so like I'm not trying to burn, I'm not
Yeah,
trying to burn the house down
of course.
literally. And I'm a newbie at this, so I would burn the house down literally.
Well, I can't wait to hear what you come up with. Have you made any progress on like practice songs, like practicing the software, and like anything cool come up
Um,
yet?
Before I had some kind of software glitch, I have re-recorded one of the songs that I had done before I left Detroit. Because before I left Detroit, I've got I think 9 or maybe 11 songs recorded for a project. Like I
Wow.
had like I
Where are
like my
those?
I'm sorry,
Where are those songs?
they're in my on my Google Drive.
I want to hear them.
I'll let you hear them.
All
I'll
right.
I'll share with you. But I mean, I've had the third project planned and started now for I started it, and I actually started it not long after uh, TC passed away.
And it had a title and everything, right?
Yeah, initially it was going to be called Solitary Confinement, but I I tweaked it a little bit because it's a concept album, so it's meant to be the third installment of the Mother Gorelore trilogy, which is Mercy Queen Gorelore, and then
Which I was going to ask if that was Argento influenced for that trilogy,
it was a
the
little
Mother of
bit
Tears
the
trilogy.
mother yep, the mother size three mothers trilogy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit.
I don't know, it just
I
reminded
mean
me of that for some reason. I don't know why.
that no, and that was the primary. The title came later. The title I chose Mother Gorler actually because I became a mother, like that, and that has a lot of symbolic significance
Hmm.
in how the album's going to progress. But like, um, I mean, the Three Mothers trilogy was that was like I'm obsessed
Yeah.
with that concept. Like
Yeah. Mother of Tears is like, I don't, it has too many haters. I think it's a good movie.
I will take them all. I will take anything Argento wants to feed me, and I will take it lovingly. Like I'm a like horror. Um, I'm a horror advocate. Like
Yeah, me too, obviously. So, what are some of your favorite horror directors other than Argento?
John Carpenter is top notch for me. I love Toby Hooper,
Oh, yeah.
um, George Romero, Alfred Hitchcock, um, obviously Argento, Fulci. Um,
Fulci's
hang on,
one of the best.
I his the like Beyond the Gate, the cemetery, the house by the cemetery, that
Hospice,
trilogy. Oh,
yeah. The
good
Seven
God.
Doors of Death trilogy. I forgot what
Yes.
the trilogy is called. Oh, I can see.
Yeah, I had to actually look at my bookshelf because I have like each like horror director that Cronenberg. I love Cronenberg, and my
Oh, he's so
my
good.
my newest favorites, and I'm just ashamed I didn't find them sooner, are the Soskas.
Oh, okay.
I
I'm
will
not a big fan.
forever. I'm
Which
sorry.
ones? I'm not a big fan of the of American Mary is the only one I've seen.
I love American Mary. Dead Hooker in a Trunk, I think that was their first film.
Uh huh.
I will forever, I will die on that hill. That movie's brilliant in my opinion. It is
I
such
want to
a
see
clever
it. Yeah.
mix of like grindhouse, and it's like an homage to Tarantino and Eli Roth, and like if you kind of, I think if American Mary is a tough watch for one, like that is a brutal film. But I think if you like kind of dig into their influences and stuff, their movies make a hell of a lot more sense. And if that's like not your thing,
I want to see Rabid, their remake of Rabid.
that's also amazing. Like, and they directed See No Evil 2, which like obviously it's hard to take Kane as a serial killer seriously, but
My wife
they
Presley
made.
likes that movie, I think.
I mean, I don't care. I
Or
will
maybe it was
forever
the first
sing.
See No Evil that she likes, but yeah.
If you're two female directors that get hired by the WWE to make flicks, you're doing something right, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I will forever. And they write comic books too. They wrote a Black Widow story art.
Yeah,
Like,
I saw that they've been doing graphic novels and stuff like that.
I'm
Um, I'm
I'm
not
a
one to
Suster.
stop be like, oh, I hate them. I'm never watching something again. And then but like the thing is, except Rob Zombie, that's just the one I have to stop
Yeah,
there.
you'd have strong opinions on Rob Zombie.
I will die on that hill. But the Munsters is starting to prove my point. If you know what I'm
Um,
saying.
I believe that's a tragic. I got through 5 minutes and I said I'm not stoned enough for this, and I turned it off.
The thing is I feel like he has really good cinematography and he gets really good actors in his movie, but for some reason he makes his actors look bad. And I think it's such a waste of talent, especially in Devil's Rejects and like some of the talent that was in there. And it's like, man, like they're just like throwing swear words at each other and it's like it could have been a lot smarter, I feel like. And then like the use of like terrible special effects, like cheap CGI and stuff, was kind of a turn off for me too. And House of Thousand Corpses, I know Lionsgate kind of ruined all the gore, took all the gore out, but
That film I initially was not a fan of, but I'm very much a fan of the Firefly trilogy. Like,
mm-hmm.
but I mean, when I was kind of coming up on horror movies, like that was that torture porn genre, corpses, Hostel, like stuff by Robert Rodriguez. Like that was like all kind of my first introduction to like extreme films.
That was a fun time in cinema, just like because I don't know, there was a lot of bad shit going on in the world and it's being reflected in theater, and that's a lot of people were turned off by it. But it was like in 2022, you could not pack a theater full of people watching people get tortured. It would not happen today, but it happened back then. For sure.
It did, and you're absolutely right. There was shit in the world that was going on that made it so that could happen.
Yeah.
I mean, we watched the world blow up on live TV, so
yeah,
we needed a little extreme torture porn horror in our lives.
And that's why I think your music was also packing shows at the time. I mean, because people were still in the same frame of mind. You guys were in the mid to late 2000s, and violence was just popping off.
It was. I mean, if you figure, I came of age in 2001. Like, I literally had been at college for 2 weeks on 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
So, like that was my introduction to adulthood. And then, we had Hurricane Katrina. There was just a lot of bad shit then.
Losing complete faith in like the government and authority because of like a lot of the conspiracies that were going around. Like that was like the birth of conspiracy thought, which has gotten way out of control now.
It's
but
absurd.
Yeah.
Like wasn't really my thing then. It's not really my thing now, but
yeah. But basically, it's just like gotten worse from there. But I feel like people have gotten more sensitive now. Now it's more about like cutting off that violence, cutting off.
Nobody wants to be uncomfortable anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, we went from being forced to be, we kind of had to be so super uncomfortable that now we don't want to be uncomfortable at all. So any like minor inconvenience, if they don't have the proper syrup for coffee in the morning, like, we're punching somebody in the face. Like I'm pretty peaceful and like hippie like, but people need to just shut the fuck up and like not be such babies.
Yeah, I mean, people complain so much about like none of my shit on Facebook is getting seen, and it's like, yeah, it's because all of us have been bitching so much about each other and reporting each other and canceling each other that now we can't have a single social media platform to show horrorcore or horror movies or anything.
Yeah, it's who would have thought, but it's very repressive times. Like when they look back on this period in history, they're going to say, damn, that was like a artistically repressive time. It's very similar to the 1980s in my opinion right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say you're about right. That's why every movie that comes out takes place in the 80s now, I think, because people
Yeah.
are relating to that time.
Yep. And there's a nostalgia for, what seems to be the simplicity of that time. It's why the 90s fashions are coming back too. Everything I saw in high school is now back in the stores.
Yeah.
And everything I wore in high school is now cool again.
Yeah, I know. It's like people were like dressing like not baggy, awkward baggy on purpose. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's 90s grunge and like Gwen Stefani, like I just bought like a plaid overall skirt jumper that's like straight out of 1996. Like all I need are chunky loafers and a Delia's catalog and life is good.
yeah,
I'm
I
here
just
for it.
wear clothes that I've had for 10 years, so it's
Same. Horror t-shirts and leggings.
hell yeah. That's the way to do it. I need to get me some leggings.
Yep, they are comfy and stretchy.
So you are the queen of KYP, and
Mm.
you eventually took over the label. Was
Did.
that 2013?
It was actually
Or
earlier
earlier?
than that.
It
It
was
was
Gorelore age, right?
considerably earlier. Yeah. It would have been around, it was like spring 2011. I took over behind the scenes. Like I said, Stitchez had a lot of irons in the fire, and he, at the time I was already like running the store and like keeping books, doing inventory, that kind of thing. So I was already running like the business logistics of the label as it was. Um, and Stitchez knew that he maybe wasn't going to have the time to like oversee everything properly. So he started to like show me how to do everything and like kind of take over behind the scenes. It was around the time Gorelore came out, so it would have been like April 2011.
That's
What
awesome.
was when that happened. And the original plan was, he was going to remain the kind of public face as the like, owner of KYP for a considerable amount of time while I learned everything and like kind of felt ready or whatever. But then he passed away 4 months later. So, um, you know, my response in the immediate aftermath was like go into action. And he had already, his album release was already in the pipeline. It was supposed to be released there in a couple weeks at Strictly for the Wicked. So we went into action, and I kind of just went into that's just kind of how it became quote unquote official.
Nice. So you were kind of behind the scenes on Sick and Shameless.
I mean, that was all Stitchez, and the people, he had some help recording that as well. And that was another, one of those projects that was in the pipeline, and announcements that were in the pipeline and things like that never came to fruition. But when the actual release of that album and like getting it pressed up and like making sure that KYP retained the rights to the masters.
Yeah, that's important shit.
That was me.
Cool.
And like,
and do you still have ownership or anything over that?
I do.
So you still, is it like an LLC or like a
for KYP?
Yeah, like a business.
It's not an LLC, but I mean, like because of so I say this only to like show that I'm not just blowing smoke. Like I have a law degree. Like that was my original intended career path. So just through like open use laws, I would own.
So you could bring it back anytime if you wanted to.
I mean, it never really went anywhere in the first place. I just had a baby and moved. And
so if you put it out an album, would it be KYP?
Yes.
Oh, cool. I mean, that's
I
guess that's what I was getting to from that long series of questions.
Yeah. And Pop N is still KYP too, even though he's like, it's Horror Crunk that's like his primary label. He never left KYP. He joined the active. Yeah, exactly. So
KYP, by the way, I have another copy of this. Nobody sent me the subscription. Someone was supposed to take a picture of their subscribing to me, and they would have got CD. No one got it.
That album is dope. Decay is my favorite.
Decay, yeah, that one has some fucking Giallo vibes to it, I think.
That chorus hits hard. It's so gangster. That whole album is just from top to bottom. My God, I can't talk enough about how proud I am of Pop N.
I think the horror corridor awards. I think that's probably going to take the cake. I don't want to give any spoilers, but look for that around the end of the year. So
That would be cool. He really came out of left field with both that and Low Life Resurrection, and they are both so good. And
yeah,
he did all the work himself. Like Horror Crunk is promoting them. They are the best. Like they
yeah,
are.
great.
I can't say enough good about them. But when I went, what I like to call I hibernated. I never said I was retired. I never said KYP was done. I'm never gonna do that. Nobody's ever gonna hear those words come out of my face hole.
Just chilling in the crypt.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like Lestat. Like maybe I'm asleep for a couple hundred years and shit because it's just too fucking loud in the genre. And I had
For
to,
real.
shoot out a human and stuff. But so when I couldn't be there, or when I failed him in practice frank terms, like he banged it out.
Yeah.
Like it's so gangster. Like it's so
Yep.
my
Yep.
brother.
It's just I can't wait. I can't wait for it to just pick up traction because the
Yeah.
way that album sounds, like it's gonna get the necro fans, it's gonna get the acid rap fans, it's gonna get the juggalos. Like anyone that listens
Yep.
to it is gonna dig it because it's got like DNA from all that, but it comes out
Yeah.
fresh.
Yeah, Poppin's got a lot, like he likes a lot of music. He's very like well versed in a lot of versatile music. And like every genre you just mentioned, and like acts like 3-6 and
Hmm.
Brother Lynch Hung and
Definitely the sick made shit. Yeah.
Motown, like crooners and stuff. All of those things influence Poppin's music. He's a lot more knowledgeable and a lot more talented than people give him credit for.
Also, another person on your label who's now passed, and you mentioned him earlier, TC
Yeah,
149, one of the best horrorcore albums ever made. 149.
you are forever endeared to me for saying that.
And were you on that? I can't. I'm.
I was. I
It's
was on
slipping.
Children Get Decapitated,
Yeah, how could I
which
forget with Razakel?
yeah, which I only did because TC
You're
goaded
giving him
me
rabies,
into it.
giving him scabies.
Yeah, that was not typically my content of choice. That was usually something I stayed away from.
I wouldn't say you went X-rated on the track like the other two MCs did, though. You
I,
went
I,
more R-rated on it, which I
I
respect.
did. I covered that this is not normally my thing, and yeah,
Got
I,
their heads on
I
sticks
kind of,
like Vlad the Impaler.
yeah, I kind of took it like old school horror, like maybe Stephen Kingy.
Yeah, I like it
Yeah,
though. It's a great song too. Like if you took away the grossness of it, like
yeah,
I mean, Razakel kind of had a thing for that at the time, is just like going way overboard, but also having like beautiful hooks. Like if
yeah.
you listen to what was it, Formula 86 with Never Dead Click,
That was a
like one
great
of my
song.
favorite songs ever, but it's too nasty to listen to in public.
Yeah, no, I agree. There, but that like she is very good at juxtaposing like that appalling with just the ethereal and kind of
So are you though.
yeah. Well,
So you
thank
come
you.
at it a little more subtle sometimes,
I
but
go
like
more for allegory and symbolism. Like
but when you get gross, it gets gross. Like even on Gorelore, sometimes it gets to like August Underground territory.
yeah, and I mean the new stuff. There are going to be a couple tracks that are probably pretty what I would call like graphic.
Yeah.
Like some of the concepts, the song concepts that I've got mapped out are, I mean, when you have a song on deck called Ritual Rape, like
Hey, it needs to be made
it needs to be made
from
and
a
it's part of the
female.
story.
I think
Yeah,
like it's
exactly.
been. I feel like the ritual rape thing has been done by
It has,
male MCs, but like from a
well,
female, I can't think of it.
the kicker is that I'm going to be the one being victimized as from the story perspective.
Oh,
So
word. That sounds
yeah,
interesting.
I've got some plans to, and that's another thing that's kind of slowed this album down a little bit, is the songs that are left solo wise to write are they have to go to some pretty dark places, and I'm just not at that point in my life anymore. I'm collectively I'm pretty happy with my life and where I'm at.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes like sometimes it is difficult. I have an extreme horror show, and sometimes it's hard to like watch some of the shit that we watch because
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, I just had a baby. I don't want to watch like fucking
Yes,
snuff films for 10 hours. But
dude. After I had the same thing, like, I'm like, I made horror my life. Like that was my master's thesis and everything was on horror comics. Like I'd watch just about anything, but Serbian film was my limit. But after I had my daughter, I it fucked me up. I couldn't watch a lot of stuff for a while. I thought, oh my god, I've lost it.
actually, I have to step back there. I can still watch the same amount of shit. It's more about how like worrying about him seeing it.
Yeah, or like, I mean, you look at it in a different way. At least I do. Like
I
you
don't, but
know,
that's because I've been behind the camera before too long, and like I guess it just takes some of the magic away from me. I guess, but like whenever I
and
see kids die in movies, it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't, even with a kid, it doesn't bother me. I think more like if I hear about it in real life, ugh, like it
yeah,
fucks me
no,
up
I
bad. Like I can't
same.
handle that at all. Even if it's like sometimes just a kid getting hurt, it bothers me. But like in a movie, like I'm like kill all the kids.
And see, like I don't have that behind the camera perspective. I've been trained, I've trained my brain to analyze stuff. So I think about every possibility. So like, and I put myself in people's shoes. So
Have you ever heard of the
auto, oh,
Spanish film Who Could Kill a Child? Where
I have not seen
a
that.
couple
I
goes to
wouldn't.
an island and like they've noticed all the adults are missing, and like they like look up and there's like they're playing pinata with like an adult body. It's because all the kids have gone completely like insane and rabid. They've
That I'll watch. That
yeah.
kind of stuff I'll watch.
No, it's just a killer kid movie.
Yeah,
Uh,
those are fine.
yeah,
I'm fine
it's
with them.
totally rooted in fantasy. It's not like some nasty, but it's got some good gore in it too. And like that way, like when you see the adults killing the kids, you don't feel bad because they're doing it because of survival and stuff. But like, yeah, other
And that
movies
makes,
like a Serbian film, I could totally understand that being rough.
oh God, I will never forgive BK for that, by the way. It was BK that was like, we should watch this movie.
I have I walked in on my wife watching it for like the third time while she was
Oh,
pregnant,
God bless her.
and she's watched it since she's had him too. So I don't think
That's a steely woman. I'm impressed.
we're kind of both the same. Like we can handle quite a bit as long as it's not like real life footage. It's who cares?
Yeah, see, I'm for someone who raps about like such fucked up shit, I'm actually pretty I'm like gooey caramel on the inside. I'm pretty soft and sensitive to the horrors of the world, but that's why I'm in the horror industry because
Yeah,
it forces me to look at it and stuff.
yeah. Well, it seems like you still like gore and fucked up shit. I don't. I just think like when
I
it
do.
comes to like the stuff that's probably we talk about on the Quality Violent Cinema Network, it might be a little too much.
I mean, it just depends. Like I don't have a problem with like I mean, truly the only film that I've ever seen that has gone past my limit is a Serbian film. That's the only film that I will
So the
not.
August Underground films were okay for you?
I haven't actually gotten a chance to see those. So like
Ooh,
I know that they're online, but like I am a little nervous about that.
those are
And
fun.
like, it's hard to watch those when anyone that you know in the real world is around because like
You can't. You
it's
have
like
to
they're
watch.
gonna
You have to
yeah,
watch that by yourself or watch it with Poppin. But or you could watch
yeah,
it with me on Discord or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But like, you know how it is with a kid, like you don't even get to go to the bathroom
What
by
are you
yourself.
watching?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my daughter's 3 and she's starting to really like she notices, she sees stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. I get it. I get it. It's
Yeah.
kind of interesting too because I've talked to a lot of horrorcore rappers and especially the ones that go really extreme and stuff, and they don't tend to watch a lot of fucked up horror movies or anything like that. They take a lot of stuff maybe from their own anger. Or I'm just like, where do you get
Yeah.
all this like gore shit from though? If you're not watching gory movies or watching gore, like I just don't understand. Like, and that's kind of
Well,
like one
I'm
of the points of the show is I'm trying to figure out where a lot of this content comes from.
well, I mean, I'm kind of a weird hybrid, but like I have a I have a literature background. That's what I ended up going into. I was an English professor for a long time, and my specialties are horror and comic books. That's like my field. So I do watch a lot of horror. I read a lot of books, both of the novel and comic persuasion. I was really into true crime as a kid. Read a lot of true crime
Not so
books.
much anymore.
Um, I'm starting to get back into it, but for a period, like I was so immersed in horrorcore and horror movies and
Hmm.
things like that that I didn't really have time to,
It's like so
keep.
big now, true crime.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean that was why I went and got a law degree. Like when I was in college, I double majored in English, criminal justice, and then when I got the law degree, it was like fuck this, I don't want to be a lawyer. But I wanted to be a lawyer so I could like work on cases like the Manson case and things like that.
Hmm.
So like
Oh, that
I
makes sense.
like a lot of stuff that I might write about is either something I've come across reading about serial killers and like criminology types books, or it's something that I've read and amped up or
I think it's pretty. Manson keeps coming up. Manson Theory, Creepy Crawlin' was your first track, which is
yep,
a throwback to the Manson family. Isn't that what they called it? Where they would go out at night and kill and
yeah,
shit. So,
it was. Yep.
so
Yeah,
yeah.
well, that was yeah. They when they went out and went into people's houses and creeped around. It wasn't quite to the killing stage yet, but yeah,
Do you want to talk
Manson.
about like how Manson kind of like affected you and like kind of
Sure.
turned you on to this stuff?
So when I was a kid, I remember being in a bookstore and seeing the cover of Helter Skelter, asking my mom what it was, and her forbidding me from reading it.
Yeah,
So obviously I read it.
of course.
So I don't know how, I don't remember how I got my hands on it. I think I might have
It's a big ass
convinced.
book.
It is. It's a thick book. It's on a bookshelf over on the other side of the room. But I was like 13, and I remember reading it and walking to the bus stop, and it scared me to death. Like there have only been maybe 3, 4 books in my lifetime that truly scared me. That is one of them.
Yeah.
And like it had an impact on me. This idea that this creepy, ugly looking little fuck of a man could somehow gather a harem of, reasonably intelligent, progressive women to him, with some daddy issues and convince them to kill people.
It's so weird. Yeah. The
You know,
whole
and just
thing is weird from the beginning to the end.
and like the Hollywood aspects of it. Like I'm very into like the idea of Hollywood and like being involved in film, and like that's kind of my pipe dream and shit. And like
What are your thoughts on Once
just
Upon a Time in Hollywood?
I actually thought I liked it.
It's his best movie, in my opinion.
I think it's glorious. I think the way he takes history and your expectations and plays with them is some of the most brilliant cinematic techniques since the invention of film.
Easily the best performance by Leonardo DiCaprio because he actually showed restraint, and the humor was like on that character was like so good. Like I
It was
still have a
almost
laugh
like,
attack.
I mean, isn't that Leonardo DiCaprio at this point? Like, kind of aging out of that little, that heartthrob role, still dating young girls and kind of acting a fool, but like coming out the hero with a flamethrower and like kind of not taking yourself too seriously.
Yeah, and like
Here for it.
he always goes like I would say over the last decade he's always been like known for these like roles where he just goes completely batshit, like Wolf of Wall Street or
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other ones where he just completely blows up.
Hoover,
I'm not sure.
that Revolution Road or Revolutionary Road with Kate Winslet, even though it's not a loud performance, it's an explosive performance.
So it was great to just see him as like this like vulnerable actor that's just like falling apart, and it was like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I love that movie, and just the way that it rewrote history on the Manson thing. That's kind of why I was asking. I was trying to see if that how did you feel when they saved Sharon Tate at the end of that movie?
I went and saw it in theater, right? I was very excited. Tarantino is an event for me. He is a god to me.
Yeah,
So my husband and I went and saw it. I clapped at the end.
I was like
I thought
tearing up a
it
little
was
bit.
so good.
Yeah,
Like that's what I'm saying. Like you expect this bad thing to happen. You're waiting to see this bad thing happen. You like her by the end. That's the thing about Sharon Tate that everyone says is you just liked her.
mm-hmm.
And like, so like you just expect the bad thing to happen, and then not only does the bad thing not happen, but they kill them with like a can of dog food and a flamethrower. Like it's just fucking brilliant.
And I just love the end too, where he just walks up with the cocktail and like kind of gets to know her, and you're like, oh, they could make a movie together now. Like
Right.
it's such a happy ending.
Yeah, like it's such a for being so violent and being such a violent part of
I love the violence in
history,
that movie too. It was great gore in that movie.
but it's such a feel good.
Yeah, yeah,
It's the same thing with
perfect mix.
Inglorious Bastards.
Yeah, and Hateful Eight, I think, pulled it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. He just, yeah, he just gets better and better. It's a shame that he's thrown in the towel soon.
Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of like Schitt's Creek. Isn't it better to end a good thing when you're still good than to?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Or like the Hannibal show, they stopped at season 3, and like it was best that they did because it had a really good
Yeah,
finale. They could have drowned it out for another couple seasons, but
yeah. Don't be a Busta Rhymes Halloween. Like, you know,
I will take that movie over the fucking Rob Zombie ones, though.
one I thought was well done. The second one, when he made him make noise,
Yeah.
there are just certain parts of the mythos you just leave alone.
Yeah, I didn't
But
like. I just couldn't handle the backstory and like him
no,
just injecting the Rob Zombie dialogue into the Haddonfield world. I was just like,
yeah,
it just doesn't fit. And it's always. I think my biggest problem with him was always just like, I was a big White Zombie fan back in the day. I also liked Hellbelly Deluxe, but like, so I expected him to be this awesome horror director. He just didn't pull it off enough for me. So
I think, like you said, Lionsgate kind of amputated House of a Thousand Corpses, but also like that movie was such a ripoff of like
hmm
Texas Chainsaw and like your other kind of
yeah,
it
I
was
do
that was
like the
not cool.
last like 20 minutes when they go into the underground layer and stuff. And I know that that was like thrown in last minute, but I think that was the best shot shit. Like the Dr. Satan stuff's cool.
It is.
I love, and I will say everything he's done is really well shot. Even Lords of Salem looks beautiful, and Devil's Rejects, which I hate that movie, but it's so
I
well shot.
I do love Devil's Rejects. I can't.
I can't say so much for 31 or Three from Hell. Those were pretty cheap looking.
They were cheap looking. Both have since grown on me
Oh,
over the time, but
interesting. Yeah. I'm wondering, like, I would love to return to his movies like 10 years from now. Maybe I'll pick up retro vibes or something. Marshland Monster's probably punching his screen because he hates when I talk about Rob Zombie so much.
no more.
Leave him alone.
Leave Rob alone.
So, do you think you'll ever link up with Raz or Smallz One again, do some more Dead Girlz or Manson Family?
I'm always open to that. I mean, I think all three of us are always open to that. It's just, that's a complex set of cogs to get into working order. You know what I mean? That's three of us trying to,
Three
you know,
labels, camps,
I mean, yeah,
states.
yeah, and that's what it is. It's three separate, three states, three people who are have lives to live, and
Families.
Razakel's running a business. Smallz and I both have children, and have our own endeavors. Like, so it's a hard thing to put together, but we're all always open to it. Those were, at least for myself, those were great experiences for me. Those are major highlights of my career.
Were you
So
guys like in a room writing together when you made those albums?
no, we have never had the gift of being able to sit in a room together and write a song.
Oh, that's sad. That'd be a lot of fun, I think.
We've hung out.
Yeah.
We've had some adventures as a trio for
So
sure.
maybe that just contributed to the albums.
Oh, absolutely. We're friends in real life. You know what I mean? I've known Razakel since the beginning of my career. Like, there's a lot of fun
Yeah.
stories to, initially, we had been pitted against each other. She didn't like me to start with. She dissed me on Murder Potion.
Oh, really? Do you remember that
Yeah,
line?
I'm the real murder scene queen.
Oh, yeah, yeah. How did I
But
forget?
like,
Yeah.
look, and I'm not trying to throw shade at her, or fucking throw her under the bus. Like, we squashed that right quick. Like,
I think even
it
in a
was
song,
Stitchez.
there's a
It
song
was
where you
Stitchez
guys
that
were like,
mhm.
I'm the murder scene queen, other than me and Roz or something like that. Like, you kind of
we.
throw her that.
That's one of those things that we laughed about very quickly after it happened. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're the collect, the first, and Smalls wasn't involved in that little tip, but like you're the first few females that come out in a different style. You think that the other one is kind of, like, what the fuck? Like, this was supposed to be my shit.
Yeah.
So, like, I get it. And like I said, it was squashed quick as F. I mean, we were working together by, I want to say, like 2007.
Yeah, you guys have quite a few tracks. You look up Lyssa Cer on Spotify. Most of the shit's with Razakel or on Razakel albums because she has a lot of feature albums too. So
Yeah.
to
Well,
be fair,
I own the rights to Murder Scene Queen and Gorelore, and I've never put them on Spotify. That's why they're not on there.
are you ever going to?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of me navigating the systems and not being lazy. Quite frankly, let's just put brass tacks on it. It's me not being lazy.
Okay, because I mean I listen to those albums a lot, and you're not getting my pennies now right now.
Yeah, no, I'll get on that. And I'll, a lot of it had to do with, like I said, I had my daughter in 2017, or excuse me, I moved back home in 2017. I had my daughter in 2019. I also got married and graduated grad school in 2019. So like I have been,
Oh yeah,
busy.
I mean, I just got into family life, and I get it, and I think anyone that does. I mean, we from the God Hates Us interview, we heard about why 2 wasn't able to put out their other stuff because a lot happened with Phil and a lot happened with Brad, and same with Troubled Mindz. It's just like they're all family stuff. So
yep. Well, my daughter is on the ASD spectrum, and initially she was nonverbal. Over the last year, she's found her words and starting to rapidly gain language. But like, so
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we're like super proud of her and stuff. And I could talk about that for days, but that's her journey, not mine to tell. But so that is a factor in how I distribute my time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm very devoted to being a mother, and my child is kind of my world. So
I have big respect for that too. Also, I was saying in the Troubled Mindz, like working class rappers too, I have big respect for that. People that work all day and then come home and do their art. Also, people that do their mother father thing all day and then still have time for their art. It's like not easy to shift your mind that way. Yeah.
And it is hard for any endeavor, to put energy into. And then, you deal with the, am I being selfish? But it's worth it. Like, I'm not complaining at all, but I'm never going to give up the music, and I will put out an album, I would say, in the next 6 to 12 months. But, my child is always going to come first. So
I respect that. And I would hope the best for your child over another Lyssa Cer album. So just, I'll take it when it comes.
And she's starting to pick up music. Like, she's musical herself, so like she's gonna be in the studio with me in a year or two, anyways.
Hell yeah! You can get her on some skits.
Hell yeah! I've got my mom and my sister are both on the Dead Girlz album on a skit. So
cool, that's awesome.
They're the 2 voices on Rosemary's Baby.
Oh, that's dope. That's cool. That's good to know. I just want to get into a couple tracks with you real quick.
Yeah.
First off, I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite track off Murder Scene Queen?
Hurricane.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Mine's Murk You, which is the straight up posse track. I love that shit. It's so good.
Second song I ever recorded. It wasn't even supposed to be mine. I had to beg for them to let me put that on my album.
It's a banger. I mean, the beat and everything. It's the amount of rappers on there, the energy they bring. It's
performing that was always my favorite to perform. I always made the guys come out and do that one with me.
Hell yeah, so good. Another one that I am a huge fan of. I might even use it for the outro. I'm not sure yet, but 9 Circles off of Gorelore.
Oh wow, thank you.
I was talking to Marshland about that. He did the beat because I went on his stream today. It's his birthday. Happy birthday! If he
happy birthday, Marshland.
But I went on his stream and I actually asked him about each individual track on Gorelore on his Twitch stream and asked which ones he produced. He did most of it.
Most of it, yeah. Yep.
Also, Devil Servant with KGP. He was.
What also a moment that was.
Yeah. You were
That,
hailing
yeah,
the ungod on that track.
dude, that was a privilege. Like that was one of my goals when I got into music is I wanted to be I wanted the artist that I looked up to and like that inspired me to respect me enough to want to do tracks with me. And like that was the experience with KGP in it. So it was like one of those like dream come true. As cliche as it sounds, like that was huge for me. That was really cool.
And you were also on his tribute album. You did
It
Scars.
was. Yep. And that's actually
Who produced that one?
that SKR put that album out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was but it was to raise money for Cap was having some health issues. So
Okay.
it was a fundraiser, it was a fundraiser type project.
When was the last time you were in touch with him? I know people don't really talk to him much anymore.
It's been a few years.
Yeah.
Like he kind of just does his own thing, and I mean I think he's like 10 years older than I am, so he's got a family, and
Yeah.
so but I hope that I can get him to come out of the woodwork and feature on a track on this upcoming album. I've got a plan for this one song that I'm gonna need his help, so I'm putting it out there now.
Oh, hell yeah. I would love him to return on one of your songs. That would be so awesome. Such a random and great way to return.
If I can pull off the idea I have for that particular song, I wouldn't normally say this about myself, but that one would probably put me down in history
I think
because
so.
I've got an idea for that particular track.
Another one I want to go to is a feature you did for Stitch Mouth, which I know you're a huge Stitch Mouth fan before you got to do the
And
feature, so that was probably another a big one.
that was a cool. Yep,
Yeah,
very
Spray
cool
Some
one.
Blood. That's just a hard ass track. You want to
One of
talk
my
about that?
favorites. Yeah, that's one of my favorite verses that I've recorded. But I'm very like self-critical and shit about my music, but like that was one of the ones that I was like, this is a banger. Like it came out so like it makes me want to rip throats out.
It just
And
you really work well with when it comes to KGP, Stitch Mouth, the more metal sounding rappers because you have that raspy, like scary voice that you can get into. So I
yeah,
think
I mean, I appreciate that. And that has been said to me on more than one occasion. And I mean, those are the types of beats I tend to gravitate towards, probably because that's the type of music I listened to growing up. The new metal, like Dead Zone's one of my personal favorite tracks because it reminds me of like the three verses and the chorus and the way that all came together. Like that song always felt like a new metal song.
yeah, I was a big fan of Circus Magazine, new metal, all that stuff growing up.
Same.
And then getting a little bit more, a little softer would be Dopamine Drip, your feature on the Definition of Insanity album, where you do the hook. It's
Another one of those oh my god moments where like
got to
I
work with
mean I
Defect and Staples.
yeah, and I've had the fortune of being friends with Defect for you know probably 15 years now. Like I met him early on. He was a headliner at one of Murder House's like first few, like one, I think it may have been the second or third Hell on Earth. So like that I learned of him early and I got to like meet him early. And early in my music career I ended up telling him off, and we've been friends ever since. So like I but that was a cool moment to like just kind of become friends with him.
That's
And like
awesome.
but like to work with Staples, Bedlam was the first horrorcore act other than ICP that I ever heard and loved. So like that was as good as working as like Corey Taylor in a
Yeah,
way.
I
Like
know. And it's a very mature song too. It's not even horrorcore really. I mean, it's about the horrors of what technology is doing to our brains, but
yeah,
it's
I
a
mean,
smart song.
and I think a lot of us that were, of the era that kind of, Defect, Bedlam, Bloodshot, Raz, all of us came up in the LSP scum. Like we're different now. We're older, we're more mature. We are still tough as nails and horrorcore as fuck, but different things are scary. It doesn't. I mean, Poppin's family man. He talks about his dogs growling at him. That scared the ever loving piss out of me. And I know him. I was like, dude, like, it just different things are scary now. So I think a lot of us are transitioning maybe towards more serious subject matter,
Yeah,
but still
yeah.
like giving it that horrorcore spin.
Yeah, I think that they definitely nailed in the point that like our brains are freaking rotting right now because of this shit. All the fucking stuff on our phones and stuff that we're looking at all the time.
Yeah, we're not using all the information at our fingertips, and we're not using the brain matter in between our two ears.
No, no, I need to read more books like you.
Yeah, well, we all could read more books.
Another track that I think is great for Halloween season would be Carrie Voorhees with Razakel and
Oh wow.
Tiny Jr. and Two Face, who I've never heard of those two before.
I cannot remember who Two Face was, and I regrettably, but Tiny Jr. was a part of. It was a group that Stitch Mouth ran with, but I can't remember. It's been a long time.
Yeah, that song has some Stitch
Escaping
Mouth
me.
vibes to it, but that song's sick. I mean, it's straight up horror vibes all
Yeah,
the way through. Like that's like when you think of like a horrorcore song, that's what you want from it. So yeah, Carrie Voorhees, and that,
thank you.
off of the Muerta Re-Up, another dose of death. So yeah,
Yeah, that was the Razakel concoction. She put that together, and obviously I wrote my own verse, but
yeah.
that was her at her direction. So, but that song came out dope.
And then of course there's the couple tracks he did on the Demonic album, Something Murderous, which is another one of my favorite horrorcore albums. Shower in Your Blood, which is
That's a
so
great track.
fucking hard. Like
Yeah, there's a lot of tracks on that album that were just like bangers. Like they make you want to get on the in the pit and just punch some people.
hell yeah. And then Kitty
Yep.
Rappers is like almost like it's got like four rappers on it. UTC, Downriver, and Demonic. So I mean that song is just that's Marshland Monster again, right? I think on that on
I believe so.
most of those
He
songs. So yeah,
yeah, he contributed a lot to something murderous.
yeah, I love those tracks he did on there. I just wanted to shout those out. And then of
I,
course, well, another one that you're a big fan of, V Sinister, The Great Stairwell.
I was so like I talked about that for weeks after he asked me to do that. I was like, oh my God. Like, again, like those people that I came up with, like, I am very much a like sentimental, like, the universe gave me a gift type of girl. Like, so experiences like that are,
I
they
mean,
very much
that's
like,
honestly how I feel right now talking to you, just because of Manson Family was such a big deal to me when I found it, and then when I found out that there was more of your music and stuff, like shit, there's a huge rabbit hole, and your talent is just I can't wait to see more from you. That's all I could
I,
say.
I appreciate that very, very much. If that was always the goal, if it meant anything to anybody, then I had done something worthwhile. So I appreciate that
The one
very
thing
much.
we haven't mentioned yet is we ain't dead yet.
Oh my God. What a little banger project that was. That was so much fun.
That's just like kind of
Like
a
that.
kill yourself mix of everything, right?
I mean, honestly, that was born of the fact that me, Demonic, and TC were always rolling together. Like that, if we would always have TC with it, like that was just the trio. So
Okay, and I just
we
gotta
spent
say,
a lot
you
of
know
time.
how rare that is. Like, is there any way that you can get that like in more
It
people's
was never
ears?
pressed. It was
Yeah.
never pressed. We never like we made. I think we made up like we burned some copies and wrote on the top of them, but like I don't even have that anymore.
Okay. I need to stop talking about stuff on the show that people can't hear. I mean, I could send
But
it to
if
people, but
I mean it, we gave it out for free. So like I mean I think I still have the tracks. Like they are just on the old hard drive. So like it's just a matter of booting up the old computer. I might have them on this new. I might have put them on the new studio already, but they exist. They're still around.
right on. Also, I did hear that there was a potential track with Bloodshot in the works called "The Restless Dead." Can you talk a little bit
Right. So
about that?
oh, let's talk about Restless Dead. So Restless Dead is actually already a track. It's already a thing. It's been a thing since the Gorelore era. It's supposed to be a feature on Gorelore. And anyone who's been in either in the scene or a fan of the scene for more than a decade. No, drama happens, fucking bullshit happens, and we were on our bullshit. So I pulled a song from the album after some falling outs and stuff. So one of the biggest regrets in my career, but I never released it. I've been sitting on the beat, and I rewrote it to fit the theme of the concept of the project that I've been working on. So it's now called Wreck Ya Head. My verse is recorded, and I've already talked to Bloodshot about being on the album, because I made a mistake. Like, that's why I said we need to talk about this, because, like, you know what I'm saying? I was a dumb kid that couldn't think for myself in some situations. So, like, I'm glad to have the opportunity to redo that song with him and, like, make it right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I regretted that for 10 years.
A lot of artists are kind of like, a lot of artists that were involved in those kind of things 10 years ago, no matter who they are definitely reconnecting with some other artists, and you're seeing some of these things pop up, and you're like, oh, really? These two together?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I mean, it's, what I like to call serendipitous, like, just things like that happen. So I reached out to him and just told him I felt like a dumbass, like, and he was gracious enough to be cool with that. So, like, we're homies now, and so, like, we were homies before, like, we've always been friends. So, like, it's nice to have him and Creep back in my life, and you know what I'm saying, be able to like, not feel like a douchebag, like, celebrating and lauding the things that they're doing over at Horror Crunk and stuff. So, like, yeah, it's a new era, right? And it's nice to be living and breathing in a new time when I'm not, we're not on our bullshit. Like, that's exhausting.
I agree. I think people are making their priorities straight,
The world's an ugly place. I don't have to be an ugly bitch.
For real. And speaking of Horror Crunk, I don't know if this is coming out on Horror Crunk or if it's just a Horror Crunk collab, but Blue Velvet, is that in the pipeline?
I mean, that's been in the pipeline for a minute, and I mean, it'll have both emblems on it, because Poppin is Horror Crunk. So, I mean, I would obviously, if I have any input, which I'm sure I do, like, I would want to support that. So,
ever since you guys put that brainworm in my head, like, I can't stop thinking about it. So, Blue Velvet needs to happen.
I mean, like I said, out of the entire camp, there was, at one point, there was, like, I think 15 of us in the Murder Mob. Shayne has always been, like, my spirit, my kindred spirit. Like, like I said, him and TC, like, TC was a big loss for me, like, personally. So, but, like, Poppin and I have gone to, like, horror conventions together, and, like, we, like, that's my brother, and so Blue Velvet will be special. We gon' fuck your ear holes up.
I can't wait. Don't you fucking look at me.
Don't you fucking look at me.
All right.
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Pabst Blue Ribbon. Yeah, I remember that shit. I love David Lynch. Is he one of your favorites?
Yep. Shayne and I both, or Poppin and I both, like, Poppin introduced me to David Lynch, and I am obsessed. Like, this part of this shelf next to me is actually books on David Lynch. Like, Wild at Heart's my fave.
I was just gonna ask you if you like that movie.
It is my favorite.
That's a very underrated Nicolas Cage movie.
Yes, it is. And
underrated David Lynch. Yeah. Oh, William Dafoe, yeah. Yep. It's got a good, I remember there being, like, a really good gore scene in there. I just can't remember what I used it. I made a gore compilation once, and I used that clip of, like, someone's head getting smashed, I think.
It was when Willem Dafoe accidentally blew his head off after the robbery.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you see that for the first time, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's so gnarly.
Yeah, I saw it. I'm like, I have to clip that. I, like, put in some stupid thing.
That's a vicious scene.
Making Murder Mob, or the Ready to Ride album, how many tracks were you on that? I can't really remember.
Oh my God. I don't remember a lot of them.
Yeah. How was that?
It was amazing. I mean, since I met all of them back in, 20 years ago, like, they were just cool. Like, the Murder Mob was just cool. I wanted to be a part of the murder mob. You know what I mean? But like, you know, that never, I didn't know if that would ever be a thing.
Yeah.
And like over the years, it was a thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, maturity, you grow up and you pay your dues. Like I paid my dues, I earned my spot. So like that was
It's like some of your best verses too, I think.
Thank you. I mean, they brought out the best of me, you know what I mean? Like so many versatile voices in the murder mob and so much experience and talent and like behind the scenes we genuinely love and care for each other. Like we're genuinely all friends. That album came about because we were all spending all our time in Toxic's basement hanging out. Like that album just was a product of us enjoying each other's company. So I think that's maybe why it works.
What would be the most nostalgic era of your career?
Probably the Dead Girlz era.
Oh, nice.
Like that, I mean, that was around the time Gorelore came out. Like that was when I was the most active and I guess the most it's when I felt the most free in the music. Like, you know, I hate to forgive the horrible pun, I hate to beat a dead horse, but like losing Stitchez and TC, it kind of shed a certain shadow over a cloud over the music for a little bit. And at a certain point, it kind of carrying on their legacy kind of felt more like an albatross or cross to bear than joyful things. So like that period, I just had fun. I just enjoyed the music I was making. Like I was making music with my homegirls and my, you know, my friends and, you know, playing shows and, you know, getting fucked up and
it looked like a good time. I mean, I'm glad that the photos and some videos still exist from that time.
Yeah, we had fun, and there was a lot of us.
Are there any topics you don't like talking about anymore, or you're just not going to touch anymore?
I mean, I'm trying to dance around it and be PC, but I don't like it when people, you know, maybe ask me about the circumstances around the deaths of my friends or want to talk to me familiarly about those situations, I guess, because they're personal, you know what I mean? And I get that everybody loved Stitchez and a lot of people love TC, but sometimes, you know, trying to maintain the politeness that I try to maintain with people is straining when people are bringing those circumstances up, you know, those situations up to me. So I love talking about TC and Stitchez and like celebrating them and their legacies and like, you know, the amazing bonds I had with them. But yeah, those questions I hate, and they do still happen.
Yeah.
So like,
for sure.
I
even asked you before the show. I was like, "Is there anything you want to talk about?" And you were like, "Yeah."
I knew you would take what I had to say and give it the proper weight. So like, it didn't matter.
Oh yeah.
I'm talking about my mom used to call the rubberneckers.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so that
I'm a sensitive boy.
Yeah,
I care about people's feelings and stuff.
So it's different. Yeah. And you know, the you know, certain, as I've said before we started filming, if I don't like you, I'm not gonna put your name in my mouth.
Yeah.
Cool. So, and you know, I'm human. There are certain people that, yeah, I won't talk about them, and I've got my ways of just being like, you know, just on some bullshit.
Lyrically, are there any taboos that you won't touch on anymore?
I doubt I'll ever touch on children again, and that sounded terrible.
We're not cutting that out, though.
Did Marshland tell you about the shit on my chest ad lib?
Yeah. Or maybe I heard that on the podcast you guys did together, but when you were just ad libbing.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
You could say it.
The line was, I got a lot of shit on my chest that I ain't got off yet. And I just ad-libbed shit on my chest. So I just screamed that out in my living room in front of him and Demonic. And then they started laughing, and that's a cardinal sin. I just looked at him, and I'm sensitive, and I get all butthurt. And I'm like, what the fuck? They're like, and Skeeter just put me in my place. He's like, you said shit on my chest. I'm like, damn, I did, didn't I? So, but to answer your question, I won't write about committing acts of violence against children.
Mm-hmm. And that was just kind of like an old school KYP thing that kind of inducted into it.
Same thing with Guttermouth.
Guttermouth
is not something I would write today.
Yeah,
I'd probably call that girl's parents and say your daughter needs a good, she needs some supervision.
I feel like that song could be about boys too.
It absolutely could be. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah.
Horrorcore is a scene. I mean, I don't know. I won't know until I start to write it. Children for sure. I'm not real big on
demonic Satan stuff.
Yes. Yeah, that kind of stuff I tend to stay away from. Any like the God and devil stuff on Gorelore was meant to be a statement about like salvation rather than heresy.
I feel like it was also kind of you were kind of supposed to showing your attitude about your like lack of caring about the repercussions that these like religious establishments are giving you. Kind of like, you're just like, I don't give a fuck, just send me wherever I'm going.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how it is. A judgment, I'm over it. It was meant to say I'd been getting it my whole life, and I'm one of those people that I don't believe in organized religion, but I have a pretty strong faith system that of my own construction.
Cool. So that about sums up all my questions. We've been on a pretty long time. Anything else you want to say? Anyone you want to shout out? Any releases coming up soon?
I mean, I am working on Black Site, so that's in the works. Blue Velvet. I'm currently building a website called comicsclass101.com.
I checked that out.
I mean, it's still in its infancy, and I'm not a website.
I was like, oh, okay, this needs to be filled in still, but
a lot. So
you're gonna like teach something about comics, or?
I mean, that's something that I've done for. I've taught for 13 years. I just presented at San Diego Comic Con, and then I did. Thank you. Yeah, it was amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was cool. I did WonderCon in April this year. So.
Well, if you ever do a con up Northwest, definitely hit me up. I'd love to see a panel or whatever you do there.
For sure.
Nice. Anything else on the horizon?
No, I mean that Blue Velvet. I think I said that though, but other than that, no. I mean,
excited.
There's some stuff in the works, but nothing I'm ready to talk about yet.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We're totally going to have you back as soon as there's a listening party in the future, hopefully.
There will be, and I appreciate that very, very much.
Maybe I can have you and Shayne. We can bump that Blue Velvet.
I would love that. That would be a party for sure.
Sick. All right. Have a good night.
Abandon all hope. Ye who enter here, read the sign at the gates. I know my master's near. I have fallen through the heavens, and hell is where I've landed. I'm stranded in this realm of infinite madness. Gonna meet up with the she-wolf, leopard, and the lion. Gonna see souls freezing, burning, and steady crying. See the form of a male with the tail wrapped around him. How many times it's wound is based on the sin, showing souls where they should be going 1 through 9. Time to descend into Satan's shrine. Berserker will launch to those who shun the divine, punished by the separation, forced to weep for all time. Circle 2 is for the lustful, raped with rusty razor blades. Next come the gluttons, through shit and piss they're forced to wade. Materialistic waste of space, beat each other with cinder blocks. Sloth and wrath are punished by suffocating on demon cock. Welcome to your hell, please take a number, stand in line. You can pine for your lord, but here his light won't shine. You can either be abuser, you can be another swine. This is how shit is done in hell's unholy night. If you ain't down to repent, scream fuck it, I'd rather burn. Fuck it, I'd rather burn. Fuck it, I'd rather burn. If you ain't to repent, scream fuck it, I'd rather burn, fuck it, I'd rather burn, fuck it, I'd rather burn. Now I've come to the middle of this fiery sphere. Most savage of the savage meet their fate here, punishment severe. Heresy and violence are the source of the fear. If I had a soul, this is where they would have set Lyssa Cer. Disappear into the flames that house the heretics. Pain causes them to scream like lobotomized lunatics. Fire encases them like tombs where their corpses reside. That's what happens when you think that God lied. Best believe there's life after death, and you're gonna be frying. For those that thrived on violence, there's a special place set aside. 3 rings of punishment exist for all the ones that cause pain. Murderers and white beaters must dwell in a river created by their own veins. Blood flows around these sinners, boiling with fires of rage that show how the victims fell. Now they're locked in their blood cage. Suicide swing from trees, blowing in the fiery breeze. Blasphemers' tongues are branded with the mark of the beast. Welcome to your hell, please take a number, stand in line. You can pine for your lord, but here his light won't shine. You can either be abused or you can be another swine. This is how shit is done in hell's unholy night. If you ain't down to repent, scream fuck it, I'd rather burn, fuck it, I'd rather burn, fuck it, I'd rather burn. If you ain't down to repent, scream fuck it, I'd rather burn, fuck it, I'd rather burn, fuck it, I'd rather burn. Low levels of this inferno house and deliberately wicked kind of motherfuckers that fed off being manipulative, contemplative as I roam and circulate stone ditches. First one I come to gives shelter to them slutty bitches. Whip by demons with broken glass and razor wire switches. Fingers twitch, I got an itch to engage, I think that'd be my niche. People kissing all that ass are covered in steaming piles of shit. That's funny, it's the image I get when you're stuck in my proverbial dick. All the blasphemers making money off the things of God, stuffed head first into a hole, head the soles of their feet burned with the branding rod. This is their baptism instead of holy blood, it's a holy flame. All the false prophets have their heads twisted backwards on their frames. Lame motherfuckers like to start problems, have a demon naming for their body parts, getting severed one by one. As the wounds heal, the demons coming back for more fun. All the treasonous reside in the last one. Circle 9, forced to serve their time in a frozen lake, their death shrine. Their bodies blue, their tears freeze, so they can't even cry. They lie, they're screaming all their sins they deny. Just remember, this is your future. Bet you can't wait to die. Wait to die. Bet you can't, bet you can't, bet you can't wait to die.